Aaron Green, welcome back.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. I think this is our fifth or sixth catch up.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not,
we've done this a lot.
yes, over the past year and a half, maybe. So thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thanks for giving me the chance to share my experience.
100%. You've helped me so much, and you've helped thousands upon thousands of people. And I've said it before that your videos have had probably in total close to millions of views. So that's how many people you have assisted. What I was going to say was that I've spoken to you so many times, and yet I still keep hearing new information from your near-death experience that I haven't heard. So
Okay.
it's incredible. There's so much still, so much more to still learn from your experience, which of course there's too much to be able to, I guess, explain in 1 hour or 2 hours. Probably will take you
Right.
days.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a lot.
yeah. Is it also because when you have a near-death experience, Aaron, the amount of information and downloads and the speed of information?
Yeah, it's like there's so much that happens so fast. And then here
Mm,
I try to explain it with words, and it just takes forever to explain something that took like half a second, in the spiritual realms.
mm, absolutely. I understand that theoretically. So Walter, who is a wonderful audience member of ours. So Walter from Sydney, Australia, you are amazing in putting these questions together and creating what potentially is a part five on the this podcast. So let's start with some of the questions. Aaron, when you recount your NDE, you say that just after your soul left your body at age 6, you felt that, in your words, what had seemed so important to me just before this happened, it now seemed almost trivial. Should this change the way we
Right.
live our lives on Earth? Should we be placing our priority on higher values rather than earthly concerns?
Yeah, I think to a degree. I mean, we're all living this life and we have to deal with all matter of earthly issues. But I think if we keep a little bit of focus on spiritual matters and what's really important, it'll help us a lot, both with life and, when we leave this world. If we remember what's important, how we treat others, loving, loving God, loving others, conducting ourselves in a positive manner, that makes a big difference when we return to the spiritual realm. So yeah, I think it should be helpful to recognize that, look, a lot of the stuff we get caught up on here in life, ultimately, it's not really that important. It's just kind of a passing issue that we're dealing with.
Hmm. Spiritual agreements. Aaron, you said that you saw that your mother made a spiritual agreement with her sister. That's new information that I'm sure we'll be able to read more about in your book. Yes?
Actually, I don't get into that in my book.
No, you don't.
It's
Okay.
not something I'm really free to go into a lot of details on
Oh, okay. Right. Okay.
because
So,
both of these people are still alive. So uh,
yeah.
I don't think it's right for me to really get into what the issues were.
Yes. Okay. Fair enough. So maybe we'll park that one. His questions were, what are the various kinds of spiritual agreements that souls make with each other?
Sure. Yeah. So there's all kinds of agreements going on. I saw that I agreed to help other people and other people agreed to me. I saw that some of these agreements can span multiple lifetimes. It's kind of like if you're getting a whole bunch of help in this upcoming life, part of that agreement, just to make it fair, might be that you then agree in a subsequent lifetime to help other people. Um, Sometimes we're playing like a bad character. I don't know, bad's might
Mm,
might not be the right word, but
mm,
sometimes we're kind of playing the villain or we're doing something specifically because it could help someone else, or vice versa. They might be doing that. I mean, that's
mm-hmm,
not always the case. You
mm-hmm.
got to remember that's not always how it works, but there's all kinds of agreements, and I've heard it explained as we're all actors on a stage. Like someone
Yes.
who was dying said that one time, and that's true.
Mm,
We're playing a role, but this isn't who we really are. We're here to get certain experiences, and some of these experiences we can't get unless someone else plays a certain role.
yeah.
And so sometimes those are prearranged roles that we have agreed to. It's not always that way, but a lot of
Yes.
times it is.
So, with respect to actors playing these roles, like you said, it's not good, it's not bad when we go to the spiritual realm, but here we might consider it as a role that's playing a villain. And yet, it's not really us at all. It's just a role we're playing for other people potentially, or even for ourselves, to have a certain type of experience, so that we can learn certain things about ourselves. But those roles can bring about bad karma for the soul, for that
Right,
particular soul that's then had this spiritual agreement, done us a favor in playing this negative, so to speak, negative role. And then they have to experience that negative karma, even though they've done everyone a favor to some
right.
degree.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just it's kind of like that's how the rules work, and it's like God can't bend those rules. So in order to make
Right.
it work, it's like you have to make that sacrifice to be willing to play this role. Now,
Mm.
it's like other pieces of the puzzle can be kind of shifted and changes to minimize that negative karma, a person with karma. But
Hmm.
some of the other parts of the equation can be shifted around a little bit to kind of minimize that impact. But there's still going to be that negative karma a person's going to have to deal with.
Hmm. Yes. When you're saying that God can't bend those rules, this is something also that Walter brought up, but we thought God was able to do whatever God wanted to do, yet,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I probably misspoke if I said God can't bend the rules.
Yeah,
That would be me misspeaking. Yes, God is
that's okay.
perfectly capable of bending all these rules.
Yeah.
And I imagine sometimes rules do get bent a little bit, but it's minimal. Like generally speaking, the rules aren't bent all the time. Like
Yeah.
it's like it's not the ideal way to handle the situation.
Hmm.
The best way is to leave the rules intact, not to
Hmm. Hmm.
change everything around. I think it causes like uh, consequences or effects that aren't as good.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, God absolutely could change any of these rules, but generally speaking, they're not changed.
Hmm. Thank you. My other question was, which segued from Walter's questions, which was about how karma then has to be, it's like a cache that you have to check, which you've explained in a different part, where would you experience that karma in the in-between world or only in your next lifetime? So, for example, you did some terrible things and then you've returned and you've seen the terrible things. Do you have to wait till you reincarnate to get that karma, or is it any size fits all sort of a situation? You could get it back in the next lifetime, in the in-between.
Yeah, there's all different ways you could get your own karma back. It could be in that same lifetime. It doesn't have to wait to a future lifetime.
Right.
Or it could be a lifetime, that next lifetime, or it could even be, I don't know, 5 lifetimes in the future, something like that. There's all different ways that could be handled.
Hmm.
And what I saw was that it's up to the soul, how much do you want to take on in your next lifetime, or do you want to spread it out over multiple lifetimes? It's
Hmm.
really the choice of the soul, how they want to do it.
Hmm. And could
Some,
they
some,
sorry, I was going to say, and could they
oh,
experience that in the in-between as well without having to incarnate?
yeah, that's not quite clear to me.
Hmm.
Like I wasn't sure if, if what we experience in the afterlife, like sometimes people have negative experience based on how they acted in life. I wasn't quite sure if that just like really gave them the education they needed to deal with everything, or if that itself balanced out the karma. I really wasn't sure
Hmm.
which way that worked.
Back to Walter's questions. Aaron, you've said that someone who was a good friend in a past life has played a more challenging role in your current life as a former co-worker who was annoying, for example. Does
Right.
this suggest that our relationships with other souls are not fixed? Which I think you've explained to some degree, that a soul who was once a friend may take on a different painful role in the next lifetime.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, we're actors on a stage, and I've this isn't something I saw, but other NDE experiencers have explained your child in one life might be your husband in another, or your parent in another life.
Yeah.
Like the relationships we have with each other aren't fixed like that.
Hmm.
And someone you really love in this life might really annoy you in another,
Mm.
that's just kind of how it works. I want to point out that it's not always it's not like there's not one answer to this question. There's multiple answers. And yes, sometimes something you're experiencing that's unpleasant, it could have been planned out with a friend of yours in the spiritual realm ahead of time. But sometimes it's like your guides can plan this out with some low-level soul who's just that they know is going to be doing bad things, so they can just kind of make those meet. It's not always like you know it's the agreement in the way that I've mentioned where two souls are disagreeing. Sometimes it's our guides are just arranging, hey, this other low level soul is going to be doing this kind of bad stuff. Hey, we could integrate that into your life, no problem. So it's not always a one size fits all answer to this kind of
Hmm.
question.
So this lower level soul that could be causing ruckus and chaos hasn't made an agreement with you to do anything like that. They're just doing that because they know no better. And your guides could perfectly fit that in because that can be a
Right.
really great learning opportunity for you, spiritual learning opportunity. Mm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And would you know that they have done that, or could they possibly do that without your involvement, knowing that that's going to really help you?
I think that well it kind of depends on the severity of how bad it affects you. For something
Mhm.
minor, it seems like you don't need to agree to that, but some kind of major impact, uh, from what I saw, it looked like that any kind of major event that would be something you would need to agree to ahead of time.
Ah.
And the person conducting that, the lower level soul, they might not necessarily need to agree. I don't know, but the guides could arrange all that without any kind of problem.
Mm. And it could be something like an agreement that you've entered into with your guides that up to a certain level, they have some sort of agency or autonomy to do
Right,
things within a certain, boundary sort of thing. And that's why they're your guide. Not everything can be spelt out because otherwise, what's the point of this free will? And why would we
right,
go into
right,
an experience and have these cool adventures if everything was already written in?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that makes sense too, Aaron. Sorry. So the next question is, do we have to get souls we already have a relationship with to play the challenging roles in our lives? You've just
Right. And I'm saying
explained.
no, you don't.
Yeah, you don't. That's
Uh,
right.
yeah, some of the souls I had agreements with in this life, it seemed to me I had never like met them before. And but
Mm,
some of them I had, so it was kind of like a mix.
a mixed bag.
Yeah,
Yeah, something you said to me in a previous interview was that I remember saying, is it like this or is it like this? And you explained it's all of that plus so many more
yeah,
options. Like God has
right,
millions of options to choose from. Why would God limit
right,
itself? Yeah, exactly. So the next one is sacrifice and Jesus. Speaking of kind sacrifices, do you have any insight into whether Jesus sacrificed himself for us? So the biblical understanding that Jesus' crucifixion, when you saw it in your NDE, what role does Jesus play? Is he a highly developed spiritual being who has repeatedly come to earth to help humanity develop spiritually, or is he more than this? Do you know whether Jesus died for our sins, whether he paid a price so that we wouldn't have to pay the price of committing sins?
right. Yeah, the modern Christian viewpoint.
Yes.
So I'm going to have to give a disclaimer that m most of what I talk about is it was very clear to me.
Hmm.
The Jesus stuff is not so clear, so I'm kind of reading between the lines with some of this
Hmm.
and giving my best interpretation of what I saw. Um, my understanding is Jesus came here to teach us, to guide us, and that Jesus dying on the cross, it wasn't like that was necessary for us to allow us to get into heaven, and Jesus' sacrifice cleansed us of all sins. Like that is not how I saw that things work. Um, I think Jesus is very special, and that Jesus has a significant role in things, and that Jesus does come back and help the world move forward. But the traditional Christian view of Jesus, I don't think that's how it works.
Hmm. And that sort of eliminates the whole karmic cycle or dharma karma, where if you do good, it comes back, like you said, either in
Right.
this lifetime or in the next lifetime or 10 lifetimes down the track. Otherwise, how would we learn if Jesus has taken on all of our
Right,
sins?
right.
Yeah.
And then, no, I think people like I don't think I'm very good at explaining this one, but my view is, look, there's obviously, to me, it's obvious there's souls on other planets all over the universe, like just countless.
Yes.
They can't have faith in Jesus, yet they're gonna go to heaven. Like how would that possibly work? And then animals can't have faith in Jesus, but God has a plan for animals. And it doesn't work. And further, I think if you actually look at the Bible and you let go of some of these Christian teachings
Mhm.
that everyone has gotten into this, that they have to say the same thing, think the same thing, or they're kind of ostracized. If you
Yes.
actually look at what Jesus is quoted as saying in the Bible, some of his messages are really clear and they support what I'm saying. Like there was something like as you give out, it will be returned to you, pressed down and overflowing in your lap, or something like that. There's a quote like that.
Mhm.
That perfectly matches what I'm saying about karma is
Mhm.
that, what you do comes back to you. And there's other quotes like that from Jesus. The biggest one is when he was asked what is most important. What he said doesn't match what the Christian church teaches. What Jesus said was love God and love your neighbor, which is the same thing I'm saying. The same thing I learned from my experience is that the love is what's really important, not the same, not what the Christian church is teaching here in 2026, which is not the same thing Christian churches were teaching 1,500 years ago either.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you so much for that, Aaron. This one is about life purpose. You said you saw that when your former co-worker was in the spirit realm, he wanted to spend his life helping animals, and that's exactly what he did during this life on Earth. This makes me ask, do we each have a life purpose that we need to fulfill? If so, how does one discover one's life's purpose? Do we give ourselves a life purpose? Or does God and our guides assign our life purpose?
Right. So I would answer that with an analogy. It's like if you plan a vacation, you decide, okay, I'm going to see this site, I'm going to go here and here and here, and that's your plan. But then when you go on the vacation, maybe you change your mind, you don't do this, you do something different, you take a different route, you go to different restaurants than you planned, and that's all fine, that's all okay. Yeah, we all have a plan for what we're going to do in life, but it's not like we need to do everything that we've planned to do. It's not like something bad's going to happen if we change from the plan. It's like that was maybe the ideal plan ahead of time, and it's not necessarily what we need to do or have to do. And then it's deliberately hidden from us. Like we don't know our life plan. I happen to have some insight into mine, which is interesting.
Yes,
But the whole point of approaching life is that we don't know the plan. We don't know what we're supposed to do. We've got to make decisions just based on the information we have, and that's kind of the whole point of it.
that's the whole point. Aaron, do you think people, and this is my question, do you think people that have a near-death experience often get to cheat in life? Like they got to see, and you did, things that I haven't been able to, sadly. I feel like in some ways I've missed out, but in some ways I'm grateful because what I've seen from other people that I've spoken to that have taken ages to recover from their near-death experience. A woman that I interviewed, she's still recovering and it's been 15 years. She
Mhm.
wouldn't wish it upon anyone. What she saw was incredible. The downloads she received was incredible, but the recovery, she doesn't think she'd ever do it again.
Right.
So, on one hand, I understand that, but on the other hand, I feel like they got this gift that most of us, or not most, but a lot of us don't have. That you know what I mean? Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's a
well,
badly worded question. So,
it seems like there's a bit of a price for getting this information.
mhm.
For me personally, my life plan was changed to be more difficult in order to
Mm.
it set me up to where I could properly handle this information. And other people have gone through, horrible medical issues, all kinds of pain and suffering.
Absolutely.
So I think in general, there's a price for this information. Um, parts of my life have been kind of difficult. I don't usually get into all that, but
Hmm.
uh, there's a balance to it. Like the price that we pay and the information we get. it's all balanced out to perfection. And then
Yeah.
in past lives and in future lives, I'm not necessarily going to have this information. So I'll be back to, dealing with life the way everybody else has to. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Hope that answers the question.
It does actually. It really does. Because like you've said, in a past lifetime, you may have not had this information, and I may have. And I
Right.
may have lived that life knowing because I've had a near death experience. In this one, I haven't, and I feel envious of those that have in some ways. As silly as that sounds, I don't want any of the negative impact of having one.
Right.
But at the same time, I feel like, wow, they really got a window into something that most people don't get, which is such a gift if you see it
Yeah.
that way. Yeah. But it's a gift to us to hear it. Are you able to explain a little bit, again, my question, segueing, how your life was made a little bit more difficult because of that experience? So, what you're saying
Right.
is that um, you did not get the opportunity sorry, what you're saying is that the way that you had that near-death experience, that wasn't planned before you
Right.
came to this lifetime. That was an accidental experience.
Yeah.
And
The way
because,
I view it is my guides didn't plan it, but I think maybe at a higher level,
mm,
like I think God knew what was going on, but I think maybe my guides didn't, and it wasn't initially part of the plan.
right. So even sometimes our guides are surprised by what God has in store. They can help plan out, and then God goes, "Oh, you guys forgot a few things that could be really cool. I'm just going to throw it in there and surprise everyone." It's probably why
Right.
it's such a fun job for them too, Aaron. Like they probably go, "Oh, this is so much better now that you've thrown that into those ingredients in the mix. We'll work with that."
Right. Right. Yeah, that's my interpretation of what happened.
So I was just having a quick read of Walter's other questions, and he talks about, Walter talks about tolerance of frustration and annoyances. Based on what you have said in the past, Aaron, he thought that our primary mission in life was to grow our capacity for unconditional love for one another. Now he's discovering there may be an additional mission. Is our mission in life also to develop greater tolerance and acceptance for discomfort, frustration, and annoyances?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of all of that. All of that feeds into the same kind of the same issue where we're supposed to get more tolerant of others, more loving, more compassionate, more patient, and all of these challenges we face help us grow in that capacity.
Yeah, it all leads to the love.
Yeah.
Refusing to incarnate on earth. Aaron, you said that when you were in the spirit realm, a spirit guide was encouraging you to go back to earth. You replied, "I'm not going back and you can't make me." The spirit guide then asked you if it would be okay to show you some of the things and beings that you would help if you decided to return to earth. And you said, sure. He's saying that if you live in the city of light, why would any soul want to leave there and
Right.
return to Earth? Why would they not just stay there forever? And if any guide did want to show them, hey, look at all the people you could help, you could simply say, please don't show me. I don't want to see it because I won't be
Right.
able to refuse um, your suggestion in going back. So please just don't show me. I'm happy to continue living here.
Right. Yeah, I definitely could have told them no. And um, let's say you're in a city of light. Why would you ever leave there?
Yeah.
So there's two reasons I saw. One is because there's even greater levels of happiness above that. And you might decide, I want to move up to that greater level of happiness. I want to grow myself and expand and get to where I can enjoy even more happiness. And
Hmm.
so you might come back to Earth so you can continue to work on all of your godly, loving attributes that are necessary to allow you to move up. Another reason is you might realize there's all kinds of souls that either are suffering or aren't at that level of happiness. And you might think, I want to help those souls so that they can enjoy this level of happiness. Maybe you had
Hmm.
a deep connection with someone in a past life who's now not doing so well in the spiritual realm. And you might think, well, I really want to, I want them to enjoy this kind of happiness too. So you might try to help them or help others in some way. So those are two reasons why you might leave you know, a really happy spiritual realm in the afterlife.
Mm. And I can also see that maybe some souls spend time in the city of light and then they move around, especially guides that help souls like us, Aaron. They
Right,
might be able to go to the city of light and spend time there and then go back and help souls that are lost and sort of move between those realms rather than just staying there the whole time.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Souls aren't stuck in like there's kind of a our society has kind of this mindset that when you die,
Yes.
you're somewhere and you're just stuck there forever. But that's not
Yes.
at all how it works.
Yeah.
And you could be in the city life and you could go visit lower level realms easily. And maybe you decide you want to see, well, let me visit some of these horrible realms. You get there, and then you have a deep compassion for the souls in there that are suffering, and you might try to help them.
Mm.
Um, I think that kind of things happens all the time. And then
Yeah.
it seems like most souls have some sort of function or job, or they're doing something. They're not just hanging out relaxing, but they enjoy their job. They enjoy their work. It's not like Earth where it could be a drudgery. And
Yes.
so a lot of these souls are doing stuff, and they're helping others.
Mm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I think you've explained that really well. Um, and I also remember you spoke about how souls can easily move down their vibrational level, but not easily move up.
right.
So yeah, so it's good for us to remember that souls aren't stuck. I think people think, oh, if they've left the city of light, they can't get back in. Like why would you leave when you had that near-death experience and you remembered how you were in the city of light and you had all these friends there and you were like, oh, I'm going to go there and go and hang out with my friends who I have these incredible connections with. And then that beautiful angel came down and said, you must not leave your body. Go back in there. So you sort of knew that you were welcome back there. You could have easily stepped back into that city of light. You've been there before. You could have gone there and you were reminded that you were here for a task and you weren't finished yet.
Yeah, and I think it could have been at that time. I wasn't when I was 6 years old. I wasn't
Yeah.
at the proper mental. Um, like I don't know if I would fit back into the city of life at light at that point. I think maybe I needed more life experiences to get to where I could fit back into that level
Mm.
of happiness. But at some point during my experience, I was in front of a door. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but um, it's like there was this very ornate door, and I really wanted to go through it. And as I understand it, that would be some heavenly realm. But I couldn't go through the door. No matter what I did, I was never going to get through this door. I would be just stuck there forever. And it was me. I had to change myself. I had to become more loving in order to be able to fit into that higher level of that higher heavenly realm.
Yeah.
So it was like work I needed to do on myself. But at one point I remember clearly that it was like no matter how bad I screw up, no matter what I do, I'll be able to fix those problems. Like I won't, I can't possibly screw up so bad that I'm just forever stuck in some horrible realm. I will always be able to correct whatever mistakes I make. That was very clear also.
Yeah. Do you think that planet Earth, the interesting thing about planet Earth is that something you said to me in a previous interview is that over on the other side, the rules are that birds of a feather flock together. So you really fit into the vibrational realm that is your vibration.
Right.
Yep. But here, it's a mixed bag of everything. We get to hang out with angelic creatures that, or beings that we would not really be able to hang out with. And we may also not see the very lower if we're in a middle realm, for example.
Hmm.
While here you get the opportunity where you really get to mix with anything potentially from the highest realm that has incarnated for whatever reason and the lowest realm
Right.
and the middle realms.
Yeah.
That's what makes Earth so special. Is there any vibrational level here on Earth? I was thinking this the other day and thought I have to ask Aaron, what's the vibration here? Because I can't feel it. Can anybody else feel it? What?
Yeah, I don't know. I agree with what you said about it's a mixed bag of all kinds of different souls here on Earth at all kinds of different levels mixing together. Um, I, I mean, I've heard other people say the Earth is a really low level vibration. I think we're
Mm,
all kind of like dumbed down to
mm,
make this work. But no, I don't know. I don't know about the earthly level of vibration.
yes, I was thinking that too. Um, maybe it doesn't have that sort of a vibration in the same way that the soul and the spiritual realm does. But yes, you
Right.
get to really experience in this realm, which is what's so different about it, is that it's a mixed bag of everything. While as soon as you cross over to the other side, it really is you end up hanging out with the people that are vibrationally on a similar level to you majority of the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's the difference. Refusing to incarnate. So in your NDE, you remembered that when you were done with this life, you could go home and you were so happy that you could be with your friends in the city of light. You described that when you had connected with or merged with your friends in the spirit realm, it was immensely pleasurable. So I can see
Mhm.
how one would really want to connect with the same soul friends, even if they have progressed to higher levels of the spirit realm. It must be a really strong, pleasurable feeling. However, this leads me to ask, even if other soul friends progressed to higher realms, couldn't you just have made new soul friends and stayed on the same level of the spirit realm? This means one
Yeah,
wouldn't have to reincarnate and endure the pain of earth.
yeah, I think so. I think I could have just stayed in that realm and new souls would enter and maybe some other souls would leave
Yeah.
and I would have still been able to have deep friendships with the souls there. I don't know if I had some kind of past connection with some of those that I considered to be my close friends. It seemed like I did, but I'm not positive about that.
Mm,
But there's reasons souls eventually they want to move to higher levels, they want to progress, they want to help others. There's reasons why we choose to come back, but yes, we could just stay there, stay in that realm, uh, theoretically, indefinitely.
can you help Walter and probably many other people in understanding how there can be both no time and one can develop spiritually sooner? You mentioned that the reason we come here is because it's like taking off a band-aid. Um,
Right,
or it's like being in the spirit realm is like digging a hole with a spoon. Instead, here it's like getting in there and with a shovel, it's really hard work and you get there a lot quicker. But
right.
one of Walter's questions is, but if there's no time, what is the difference? What's quicker? What's not quicker? And actually, my sister, who watches our podcast, had the same question.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh, I wish I had a good explanation for that. I'm afraid I don't.
Yeah.
Uh, Spiritually, we're like eternal beings, and so coming to a earthly life seems like it's so quick. It's like microscopic. But I mean, it's kind of like there is before and after, and stuff happens in the spiritual realms, and we are doing stuff, but somehow just the concept of time doesn't apply. And I don't really have a good,
Mm,
I don't have my mind fully wrapped around that. I couldn't explain it. I'm just saying, hey, there's something to this that time just doesn't work the same,
mm.
but I don't have a great explanation of how it does work.
Well, we don't age in the spirit realm, do
Right.
we, Aaron?
No,
No. So
that's
the
not an
way that
issue.
you are in the spirit realm, you stay the same. Like if you, are we in our prime in the spirit realm? Are we sort of like, if we have bodies, were they around 30, 25? Not sure what our prime is. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever, a better version of yourself is what you are in the
Mm.
spiritual realm,
And you just
whatever
don't
that is.
age. So,
Right.
so that's probably where if you don't age, then that's already a huge thing about time, isn't it?
Yeah, there's no, the bodies doesn't age. There's all kinds of stuff we don't have to deal with.
Mm. Illness.
Yeah, illness, mental disorder. Well, I guess that's not true because there are spiritual issues in the spiritual realms, but
Hmm.
so much of what we deal with on a day-to-day basis, you just don't even have to worry about it in the spiritual realms.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, Suicide by passivity was one of Walter's other questions. He said that he read in your another NDE experience that some old people wanted to die and that they did this by deliberately wasting away, by not looking after themselves, not eating well, not exercising, etc. And eventually the body just decayed a lot quicker. Is dying in this way considered a form of suicide by God or source?
Uh, so for God, like every little difference, every nuance that went into those decisions is known, um, and all of it is included in any kind of evaluation or understanding. Like all contributing factors are known and part of the equation. So, two people, technically the word we have is suicide, but there could be a million suicides here on Earth, but from a spiritual perspective, there's a million different things that have happened, and every conceivable factor that went into each of those is known and understood, and uh, easily it can be used to like weigh what happened appropriately. So they're different and they're considered different in the spiritual realms, and so it's not the same thing, I guess, is
Mm-hmm.
the short answer.
Again, here in life, in the human existence, we're very simple in the way that we,
Right,
create a law and we have to make it, quite simple in putting it in words. But on the other side, like you have explained to me and other NDEs, is there's mitigating circumstances for everything.
right.
And those mitigating circumstances are completely visible to
Yes,
God and to everyone on the other side. But the mitigating circumstances are not considered here because it's just too complicated for us to consider a lot of that. Yeah.
right. It kind of reminds me of a snowflake. You might say, "Oh, well, there's a snowflake. Oh, there's a snowflake. They're all the same." But if you really look at it, you really look at the details under a microscope. They're all different. Every one of them is different. And
Yeah,
if every snowflake is different, then surely every suicide is different.
that's right.
And as a person, it might be hard to understand and see all those differences. But on a spiritual level, it's really easy to see those differences.
Yeah. This question is going to relate to something that you said a few minutes back about how when you had your near-death experience and you were 6 years old and you wanted to go back to the City of Light, that you may have not been ready to go back there because of the mindset that you were in at that time compared with
Right,
when you finally reached that City of Light. You were at a different mindset. Maybe because you had different um, incarnations or different experiences on the spiritual level. So, if you had passed physically and stayed in the spirit realm at the age of 6, would you have been 6? How would you have grown? Do you know? Do you see any insight into how you would have developed because you passed at 6 years old? But really, your soul's not 6. You're not even a 6-year-old boy.
right,
You've had maybe 50, 100, 20, not sure, just
right,
physical
right.
incarnations. And then so much experience on the other side too.
No, I don't think I would have remained six at all. Like the
Mm,
second I left my body, it didn't feel like I was a 6-year-old anymore. Um, I was kind of like waking up and realizing this stuff. So I wasn't like fully aware and alert when I first left my body, but I was getting more and more there as time went on. Not that there's time, but something was going on. And
yes.
so no, I don't view that when a kid dies, they're going to just stay like that.
Yeah.
And for me personally, when I had that experience at 6, I think if I had never returned to my body, let's say my body died, I assume my guides would have been like, well, look, you missed out on all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of people you were going to help. You didn't change yourself in the way you needed to get your thinking straightened out. We'd like you to go back to Earth again. And again, it would have been my choice, but I would have known they were right, and I was kind of like stuck, and so I would need to come back to Earth again. That's kind of how
Yeah.
that's what I think would have happened.
Yeah. Yeah. And that really aligns with the hallmark of so many NDEs that I've heard, and particularly somebody that I interviewed who had the same experience, and she died and didn't want to return and said, "Oh, I'm not going back. No way. You guys have no idea how terrible it is down there." She's hilarious, Betty, Buddha Betty, that I interviewed. She's so funny. And they were like, "Okay," and they were like taking her seriously for a while. And saying, okay, that's fine. Well, in that case, that means these are your options in going back. And they started showing her all these other
Right.
options. Exactly aligned with what you've said. And
Right.
the bad thing is that if she didn't return, she'd have to redo all the crappy stuff she'd gone through in this lifetime.
Yeah.
She couldn't just jump ahead. And she was like,
Right.
no way, I'm not repeating that. Fine, fine, I'll go back. It was like this.
It's like think of a third grader. Let's say they
Yeah,
drop out of school in the middle of third grade,
yeah,
and they go home, and the parents are going to like, you're going to have to go back again. You got to go to school, and
yeah,
if you drop out of that year, well, you're going to have to restart that school year again.
that's
So
right.
you better off just to finish this year and stick to school and learn what you need to learn.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Thank you. And we are those third graders, is how I see
Right.
majority of us here on planet Earth. No offense, anyone. I'm sure there's, even some PhDs out there on planet Earth and angels and all of that. But um, I think a lot of the time we're just gorgeous little toddlers running around making a huge mess
Right.
everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we fortunate to get a chance to incarnate? Um, Walter said that in previous NDEs, he heard that we were very lucky to get a chance to incarnate on Earth, and that is akin with almost winning the lottery. Is this true? Is each and every human on Earth just so lucky to be given the chance to incarnate? Are there many more souls wanting to incarnate than there are available places?
Right. Luck is not a word I would use.
Hmm.
I think fortunate or it's great that God has provided these opportunities for us, but I wouldn't say luck.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I think there's plenty of souls that want to come here and get the education they need. Uh, and so there's not, even in a really terrible war-torn country or something, there's always going to be souls available who want that experience.
Yeah.
But you know, we're part of this system. We contribute, we set up, we prepare, for the next life. And by having children or contributing to society or in some way helping someone else with their spiritual growth, we
Yeah.
set the stage for our own future incarnations. And so it's not really a matter of luck. It's a matter of, have you put in the work necessary to allow you to have certain experiences. And so it is great that we come here and we learn a lot, and it's a fantastic for us on a spiritual level. But I just wouldn't use the word luck to describe it.
Sure. And would you also see it as though there's not enough available places for the number of souls that are waiting to incarnate? Or did you see it as there is enough places and there is enough planets and there's plenty of planets and there's billions, potentially millions of souls on in other galaxies, all having similar experiences and just different avatars?
Um, the way I would describe it is there's plenty of places, um, for us to incarnate. There are plenty of opportunities, but some of them are more difficult than we might want. We
Yeah.
might want a slightly easier incarnation that gives us the lessons we need, as opposed to a more difficult life that gives us the lessons we need. Um, so there's a shortage of like easy lessons, I guess.
Yeah.
And so if you want to make an easier lesson, well, help make the world a better place for everybody else, and then you'll set the stage for yourself to have easier lessons in the future.
Yes.
Yeah, and some people they're doing the opposite of that. They
Yes.
might have a relatively easy life now, and they're doing things that are hurting a lot of people, and so they're setting the stage for themselves to have a more difficult life in the future. Like that was one thing I saw specifically about, I live in America, is a lot of the people that are born into America, we enjoy some really nice perks like I have endless supply of clean water. Like that's
Mm.
really nice. Not everybody in the world has that. There's people in America that the decisions they're making, they're not coming back to this country next time. They're going to be somewhere else. They're going to maybe face some more difficulties. And it's up to you. What do you want to do? Do you want your next life to be easier or harder? Well, look at how you're treating other people, the effect you're having on all kinds of people out there, and you can hopefully figure out whether or not you're making things easier or worse for them, and really you're making things easier or worse for yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Aaron. That's just beautifully explained. You said in the Spirit Land that we kind of oscillate between higher and lesser degrees of happiness, which Walter thinks this is very interesting. How was this revealed to you? Do souls do this in heaven in order to not to become jaded to their level of happiness? Is coming to earth also a form of doing this too?
Right. So there's like a vibration to everything. Our souls have a vibration to them. Like there's a day and night throughout there's that cycle as time goes on. And then there's a yearly cycle, summer and winter. And then there's even further cycles like ice ages and stuff.
Mm,
And it's similar in the spiritual realm. Like all this stuff going on in this physical realm is a like an ugly reflection of some spiritual truth in the spiritual realms.
yeah.
And so that was something I saw that in these heavenly realms, there's like a cycle to the happiness that repeats over and over again. Um, and I assume there's even further cycles, just like there is on Earth. But so I've mentioned that I saw between lives some different realms I was in, and usually I just talk about the ones that I saw pretty clearly, and I got a pretty good feeling. But there was others I saw, and one was a brief clip where the cycle was more pronounced or I understood it better or something. That was just like a brief clip of something I saw that there was like greater happiness and then decayed. So to answer that question, it was something I saw when I asked about where was I between the different lives.
Mm,
But it's not something I usually get into because it was such a minor uh, piece of what I saw.
mm. Okay. Free will. So, do you have any insight into why free will is so important to God or Source? And he talks about the fact that is God seeking the genuineness. He doesn't want to just turn us into robotic, loving, kind, perfect
Right,
beings. But, and don't want to say he could, they could, because God is so much more than just a gender.
right,
Source could turn us into whatever Source wanted us to be. That would defeat the purpose of us going through that whole beautiful journey of deciding what we want to be and at which
right.
point we want to be what we want to be, because I'm sure we change many times over.
Yeah, I kind of view it as part of loving someone is respecting their right to make their own choices. And I think that's just to God a natural piece of loving us is respecting us. I wish I had a better explanation why free will is so critical to our existence and why it's so important to God. Um, but I don't. I think it's a one of the side effects of the deep love that God has for us is that He respects our free will. So I know that free will is very important. It is a core part of why we were created, and there's a lot of natural consequences of that really explain why we are or how life works, how the afterlife works. But why that's important to God, I couldn't really explain it better than to say I think it's part of loving us is respecting our right to make our own decisions.
Hmm. Yeah. Faith. Why does God want us to have faith? You explained in one of your NDEs, not one of your NDEs, you explained in one of the interviews that in your NDE, your guides explained to you that it was important to have faith. And I guess Walter is concerned, as I am too, for some of our friends that are atheists. But I've heard about atheists having NDEs and finding
Mhm.
themselves right there on the other side in these incredible realms in heaven
Right,
with their guides and going, whoa, aren't I wrong? And they were not at all, um, left out of the heavenly realms just because they were atheists. Yet that is a somewhat, it's a risk is the wrong word, but it could happen, I guess. I'll leave it to you to talk about Aaron because I'm not having a terrible job explaining it.
right. So faith, why is faith important? I think how it works is faith in this physical realm is kind of like a seed. It's even a little tiny bit of faith in the spiritual realm. It's like has a huge benefit to it. And I don't fully understand that, but I know that's kind of how it works. And that's why faith is important because there's such a huge spiritual significance or uh, I don't know, gift or benefit to having faith in this world. Um, and what was the other piece of that?
Why is it important to God that we have some faith and, and will atheists?
Oh, atheist, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Um, yeah, so I think there's a couple pieces there. One is they may be an atheist in this life, but maybe they weren't in a past life, and they just wanted that experience because it provides a different a viewpoint. It helps them grow, helps them understand others. It could be that maybe they're not quite as atheist as they think they are.
Hmm.
Um, there's all kinds of explanations. I think there is a for some atheists, it's a problem, but
Hmm.
for some it's not. And that's one of those things where me as a person, I can't look at it at someone else and judge that. Like I have no idea what kind of background they have, where they are, what kind of thinking they have, why they're an atheist. But in the spiritual perspective, that stuff is really easy to understand. And whatever background, whatever thinking they have, like where they fit, like that's all perfect in a way that I couldn't replicate.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that a lot of atheists have a really pleasant spiritual experience when they have an NDE. Um,
Yeah.
but faith is important, and that's how I would encourage everyone is to say, hey, look, this God stuff is real. I'm I'm telling you, we're all spiritual beings. You don't have to take my word for it. There's thousands of other people saying the same thing. Um, and I think that would help everybody to understand that and to have some faith.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Aaron, for coming on the podcast and spending time and discussing everything again. We will catch up again to complete the questions.
Yep.
And if anybody else has any questions, send them through to myself or Aaron, because I still want to talk to Aaron about his book. And there's so many more wonderful questions from Walter. But if anybody else has any more, please send them through. And I will put Aaron's details.
Yeah, you can email me at aarongreen1975 at gmail.com, or I'm easy to find on Facebook or YouTube, Aaron Thomas Green, and feel free to reach out to me any which way and ask me whatever you want, or we can talk about whatever you want.
Fantastic.